Why does the search for the deepest truth feel so impossible? We have more data than ever, more experts, more discoveries, more papers published every single day. And yet, the big picture, it just keeps getting blurrier. And the textual critic sees a fragment, an archaeologist sees a layer of dirt, the theologian sees a doctrine. Each is his own master in a small room, but the doors between them locked tight. They argue past each other, and the rest of us are left with contradictions and headlines. But what if the problem isn't a lack of evidence? What if the problem is a crack in the very foundation that we build our knowledge? What if we are trying to reconstruct a vast ancient cathedral, but we are only ever handed one brick at a time? And here's where we uncover the foundation. For years, in quiet moments of study, while reading books that completely contradicted each other or watching debates that went absolutely nowhere, I have been haunted by a simple question, an unsettling one, about how we know anything about the ancient world. And once you see this question, it changes everything. How you read a news story, how you watch a debate, how you pick up a book that claims to have all the answers. Tonight, I want to share that question with you. And it is not about a specific artifact. It is more about one theory. It is about the very architecture of our knowledge. How is it built? Where are the cracks? And it leads to a startling realization. When it comes to something as vast as biblical history, there is no single person on earth who holds all the pieces. And let me show you what I mean. Imagine an archaeologist. Let's call him Dr. Carter. It is 1978. He is digging in Israel, and his trowel hits something hard, a piece of pottery. It has a few ancient Hebrew letters on it. He is thrilled. He publishes a paper in a specialized journal. His argument? This little piece of clay, let's call it Carter 1978 pottery. It proves there was a royal administration in Jerusalem 3,000 years ago, and it supports a passage in the Bible's 1 Kings. Now, shift scenes. It is 2021. In a museum basement in Berlin, another scholar, Professor Klaus Vogel, is using new imaging technology on an old Babylonian cylinder seal. He finds a faint inscription. It connects a Babylonian king to a minor kingdom also mentioned in 1 Kings. He publishes his finding, Vogel 2021 seal, in a German academic journal. Here is my question, the one that keeps me up at night. Does any single person on earth know about all these things? The pottery, the seal, the metals, the papyrus, and the hundreds of thousands of other findings like them? And does that same person have the deep expertise to weigh them all? To understand how they relate to each other? The answer, honestly, is no. No scholar, no matter how brilliant, can be a world-class expert in ancient pottery and Babylonian inscriptions and geochemistry and Egyptian writing, and also read every new publication in English, German, Hebrew, French, and Arabic. The human mind, however vast, just hits a wall. This is the fragmented mind problem. Our knowledge of the past is not kept in one perfect library. It is scattered across specialities, across languages, across decades, across hard drives and the file cabinets of thousands of individual researchers. Each expert holds the piece of the puzzle, but they are in different rooms, and most of the time they have no idea what the piece in the next room even looks like. This fragmentation creates what I call maps of ignorance. Think about it. When a popular author writes a bestseller claiming archaeology disproves the Exodus, they are drawing a map, in good faith probably, but it is a map drawn only from the fragments in their room, the pottery sequences they know, the Egyptian texts they trust. It is a plausible map, but it is not the map. It cannot be, because they do not have the Vogel seal. They do not have the Lee medals. Those pieces are in other rooms. And the same is true for a believer who points to 10 pieces of evidence that seem to prove the Bible wrong. They are also drawing on a map from their own collection of fragments, also plausible, but also incomplete. This is why these debates are so frustrating. Scholar A and Scholar B are not just arguing over the same puzzle. They're arguing from a completely different sets of puzzle pieces. They are, in one sense, looking at two different puzzles, even though, in reality, history did happen, and there is only one truth and one puzzle. And the public watching this, they see two confident experts with completely different maps. They draw their own conclusion that they can. The evidence must be weak. No one really knows, they say. But that conclusion is wrong. The problem is not a lack of evidence. The problem is that the evidence is a universe. And every expert is a powerful telescope pointed at a single different star. This leads to my core realization. The big problem underneath everything else, that no one is minding this whole store. There is no central system where Carter's pottery is automatically linked to Vogel's seal, no place where Lee's metals sit next to Cohen's papyrus and the biblical text they might illuminate. They have peer review. That checks the quality of individual stars. We have great scholars who write summary books. They chart a few constellations. But we have no planetarium, no place where the entire dynamic, messy cosmos of evidence is modeled for everyone to see and explore. And without this, we are not really doing history. We are trying to assemble a billion-piece jigsaw puzzle in the dark. Teams in different corners shouting descriptions at each other from the opposite end of the room. So, what if we built it? What if we stopped just complaining about the fragmented mind and started building a tool to fix it? Imagine a digital platform, a shared space, and let's call it the Atlas. Its only job is to end the fragmented mind problem, to be the very place where every single fragment is welcomed, tagged, and connected. On the Atlas, you would not just read one scholar's opinion. You could explore the evidence universe for yourself. You see the pottery, the seal, the metals, the papyrus, all in one place, connected to each other and to ancient texts they speak of. This is more than a tech project. This is a philosophical shift. It moves us from the era of the fragmented mind toward the possibility of a connected understanding. It is a way of admitting that no one person knows it all, but together we can at least try to map it all. It replaces shouting across rooms with shared evolved picture of both our knowledge and our ignorance. The goal of the Atlas, at first, is not to settle the ancient debates. For now, it is to elevate them, to make sure they are fought on the most complete, transparent foundation of evidence we can build. So that when we ask, what is the evidence? We are no longer pointing to our own little fragments. We are pointing to a mosaic we are all building together. But you might be thinking, that is a moonshot, $1 million project. What can I do today? That is the right question, because the Atlas is the systemic solution, but it needs a human solution to grow in. It needs a new mindset, and that mindset is simple, but hard. It starts with how we read, how we argue, and how we listen. And it starts with looking at any confident claim about the past, including my own in this very video, and whispering, that is an interesting map, but I wonder what fragments they are missing. And I wonder what is in the rooms they cannot see. My current understanding is based on an incomplete map of the evidence, and so is yours. Like it or not, our debate is only meaningful if we are both trying to draw a more complete map together, not just yelling out the little piece we happen to hold in our hands. This is the foundation of this series, Foundations Uncovered. Join us next time as we keep uncovering the foundations.